Okay, we are live.
All right. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. My name is Emma, and I'm the Adult Services Librarian here at the Cromwell Library, and we're coming to you from the Cromwell Library. I'm in front of the fish tank in the children's section. You might recognize it, with some book recommendations from Hoopla, our online app.
I'll go next. I am Emily, our Children's and Teen Services Librarian. I am actually in the adult section. Apologies for the fluorescent lighting, but you can still tell there's all these books behind me. I'm just sitting on the floor and getting ready to chat about some new books on Hoopla.
I am Christy. I am a library technical assistant here at the Cromwell Belden Public Library, and I am back in our study section. I've got some audiobooks next to me, and I've got our sad, deserted puzzle table behind me. We miss you all so much.
It's true. All right, so I'm going to get started with my first recommendation, which I'm squeezing in a couple books just to be sneaky. So you might be familiar with the book Chocolat, which is available on Hoopla. It was a great movie with Johnny Depp, but also a really great book. And it's available on Hoopla, but you might not be as familiar with the author's other works. So she does have a sequel to Chocolat, which is available on Hoopla to read or listen to, I believe. And it's really great. It's in the vein of Chocolat. So if you liked the first, you should check out the second. That's just a quick aside. What I wanted to show was another book by her, 5/4 of the Orange, which is a really wonderful book, set both in the past and the present, talking about some dark secrets during the German occupation and how a woman today deals with those secrets in a small French village. It incorporates all the sort of dark and mysterious characterizations that Joanne Harris is known for, while also incorporating food and the descriptions of food that just make your mouth water. But yeah, it has all the classic Joanne Harris writing tricks and techniques that really draw you in. And I highly recommend it if you have or haven't read any books by her.
I love when fictional books talk about food.
Yes. It's a little dangerous.
And I love how atmospheric her books are. She really makes me feel like I'm there. I guess I've never been to France, but yeah, she makes you want to go with the food, and it just sounds so lush and beautiful there.
Yes, yeah, if you've been drawn in by any of her other books, this is just as good. Definitely highly recommend.
Very nice.
That's my first rec, and it's available on Hoopla for free as an audiobook or ebook.
Woohoo! Okay, I am going to start with a book for teens. It is a new young adult book. We just got it in March. It is called The New David Espinoza by Fred Aceves. I know the lighting is not great on this cover, but basically, this book is really climbing to the top of my to-be read list. The more I read about it, I find myself always looking at it like, oh, I really need to take that home. But its main character, his name is David, and basically David gets bullied really badly one day, and so going into the summer, he decides that he wants to be able to fight back, which good for him, great, but unfortunately it turns into kind of a dangerous thing because he starts to work on building up his body to fight back too much. So it talks a lot about body dysmorphia, but for male teens as opposed to female teens. And he just keeps bodybuilding, and there's steroid stuff involved. So it's a look at those kind of struggles, but for boys, and what it's like to just try to become so fit, to just feel more secure when you've been bullied your whole life. But I know it's so sad, but it sounds so good. You know, sometimes like the emotional books are the really good ones, and I just like it because I don't know of many other teen books that specifically talk about body dysmorphia in boys, and I think it's just a really interesting look, and it's gotten great reviews. And like I said, the more I keep looking at it, the more I'm like, oh, I really just need to take this home and read this one because it sounds very good.
Do you know how old the protagonist is in the book?
Let me
I'm just curious.
I want to say high school, but it doesn't
Okay.
say in the description. Let me see.
Okay.
I'm gonna do a little skim and see if he's in high school, because it says the first line is, "It sucks being the skinniest guy at Color High."
Okay.
Oh, the last day of his junior year. So this is actually an older teen. So it's his summer after his junior year, going into his senior year, which is really interesting too, because a lot of times when you see stuff like that, you see it more in younger teens, like getting into high school and trying to change their image and stuff, but
you often want YA books to be protagonists to be a year or two older than the reader, so that's kind of perfect for like a freshman boy starting to deal with some issues and get into tougher subjects like that. It might be a really perfect fit.
But it just like, it sounds so good, and I think anyone will be interested in reading this book because it sounds interesting when that's not something that you've experienced, and then I'm sure it's also hard but interesting if it is something you've experienced. So yes, that's me.
Okay, my book number 1 is Girl in Disguise by Greer Macallister, and I have a physical copy here, but you can get it on Hoopla, the ebook. It is historical fiction, if that's what you like, but it's also a fun detective story if you like detective stories, if you like mysteries. I like it because I love the protagonist. The main character is Kate Warren, and it's based on the real person, Warren. She was the first female Pinkerton agent in 1856 in the U.S. Yes, Emily, do you have a question?
Yes. This may be just an uninformed question, but what is a Pinkerton agent?
So the Pinkerton Detective Agency was it was a detective agency. So they did they provided private security, they did detective work, and actually, as I was looking it up, I assumed it was something that was just in the 1800s. I know they worked with Abraham Lincoln, as they do in this story, and it's so good. But they still exist. I had no idea. Although I feel like they're in Sweden. Something interesting. I know that the man who started it was from Scotland, but I think he started it once he was in the US. Don't quote me on that. But yes, very good. It's the author, Greer Macallister, does good research looking it up. There's not a ton of information on Kate Warren, but she talks about it at the end of the book, and she's also written some other great things. The Magician's Lie, you might have heard of, but this one on Hoopla, you could read it right now if you wanted.
Yes, I should have mentioned mine is on Hoopla. These are all on Hoopla.
Yeah,
We'll
put them all in. We'll put them all in the comments, just to be clear, so it's easy to reference them and easy to figure out which one you want to read. Okay, so we're going to do one more round real quick of recommendations. So I'll jump in with my second book, which is also sort of a couple extra books on top of the one I'm recommending. I'm recommending.
Sneaky.
Oh, yeah. I'm recommending Assassin's Apprentice, which is the first book in a fantasy series by Robin Hobb, who's one of my favorite authors of all time. And the series is a bunch of trilogies that total about 15 books total. So if you want to get into fantasy and then just keep reading, a lot of them are available on Hoopla. Definitely the first trilogy is. And yeah, so that's a great use of free time if you've got a lot of that. And this book is about a young boy named Fitz Chivalry is the full name, who gets dropped off in a court where his father is a nobleman, but he's never met him. He's illegitimate, and him sort of growing up in that court and finding his way, dealing with magic, dealing with court intrigue, dealing with sort of supernatural powers. While this book is totally aimed at adults, so it's not cliche. It's very interesting. It's very dark. There's tons of cool characters and really intense character development. And like I said, it's 15 books. If you like fantasy, you like high fantasy, you like really intricate fantasy, this is a good series for you. And that's my second recommendation on Hoopla.
That's a good one.
So I have read her series that has to do with dragons, and I think you said that it ties in.
Yeah, so like I said, it's about 15, 16 books, and they're separated up into trilogies. So you could read the dragon ones first, and then those characters will show up later on towards the last trilogy she wrote. So all these different characters from different parts of this very intricate world come together and overlap and then come apart. They've got their own separate plot lines and storylines because it's a very intricately built world. So you could start with Assassin's Apprentice, or you could start with the dragons. Both are available on Hoopla, but they do come together.
That's also nice because if like you're not into like the people magic stuff and more into the dragon magic stuff, then you can pick which of the series you want to work on too.
Lots of options.
Dragons are big right now. I mean, at least for kids, they're big right now.
But this is an adult fantasy series, and the dragons were very well done.
Love a good dragon book. Okay, so my next one, I think every week I'm going to probably do one teen, one children's, since we are planning on continuing this. So I have a picture book for my next one, and many of you parents or grandparents or guardians may have heard of the book The Day the Crayons Quit, and sequel The Day the Crayons Came Home, and this is by the same author, but it's a standalone. It is hilarious. It is The Legend of, I'm going to cover my face, The Legend of Rock, Paper, Scissors by Drew Daywalt, and the pictures are by an illustrator, Adam Rex, who I also love. He does a bunch of great stuff. This book, it came out a while ago. Oh gosh, I don't even know what year. It came out several years ago, and before I worked here, and I read it at a different library job, and I just thought it was hilarious, and immediately spent the next 2 months, every person I knew who was interested in picture books being like, you have to read this book, you have to read this book, you have to read this book. It's about the origin of rock, paper, scissors, so it's from the point of view of rock, paper, and scissors. They've all got very distinct personalities, which are really great for doing voices and read alouds, and it's about how they're so strong and they can't find anyone in their domain who can match them in battle. So like scissors are in the kitchen, paper is in the office, and rock is outside, and they're on quests to find someone who like will just match their strength because they are getting so bored with defeating everyone. And it's their adventures to finding each other, and then they find each other and battle and are like, oh, finally, I'm not bored because you're an actual contender and worth my time. And it's so funny because there's a cameo by Dinosaur Chicken Nuggets. At one point, this is potty humor, but at one point, Rock doesn't know what a peach is, and he goes, "Sir, you look like a fuzzy butt." And I just think that's hilarious. And kids will too. So it's just so funny. I think the art is really cool. Like, look at the eyeballs on scissors. And it's like, alone, it's a great picture book, but it is really a good read aloud one because it makes kids giggle. It's probably geared more towards a little bit older kids, older young ones, like kindergartners, as opposed to toddlers who may not comprehend rock, paper, scissors yet. But it is so funny and very good. And it's on Hoopla.
Do you think it's one of those that you talk about how funny it is and that it's for older kids? Do you think parents wouldn't mind reading it? You know how kids will get their hooks into a book? Like, will parents be okay with reading it over and over and over again?
I think yes. I mean, I'm a grown adult and I love reading it. And I think it's definitely good to read over and over again because you can just change the voices up every time too, you know what I mean? Which will not only provide entertainment for a child, but also for a parent. Like, one day you do rock in a deep voice, and one day you be silly and do them in a high-pitched squeaky voice, even though no one would expect that. And yeah, it's very, and you can tie it in if your kid doesn't know rock, paper, scissors, with teaching them rock, paper, scissors, which is a very handy life skill to have. It makes a lot of decisions a lot easier.
Okay, that sounds great. My second book and our final book for the day is Notes from a Small Island by Bill Bryson, because I love Bill Bryson. He writes a number of things. You might know him. Arguably his best work is A Walk in the Woods about hiking the Appalachian Trail, which I also recommend. But this is available on Hoopla. He has another title on Hoopla, Neither Here Nor There. These are both travel, nonfiction, travel memoir type books, where you just go with him on this trip. On this one, he goes all around England, and in Neither Here Nor There, he goes around Europe, and he is so funny, and we can't go anywhere right now, really. So this is a great way to either make future plans or just to transport yourself, you know, mentally, because he's funny and he's not too saccharine. He's just a little more than a little. He's pretty curmudgeonly. He's kind of cranky, but in a really, really funny and relatable way. So, you know, you're not reading something, you know, everything was perfect and it was all roses. It was, oh my, like, this part was really, really bad, but this part was really good, and here's why. And yeah, so I think being able to go somewhere and laugh at a time like this is invaluable.
That's a good one too. I think when Walk in the Woods came out as a movie, the book got really popular again, if I'm correct. I would
haven't
assume
seen the
so.
movie.
Oh yeah, there's a movie. I forget who the two actors are in it, but they're well known. I'm just forgetting who they are. But yeah, I'm pretty sure the book made like a big comeback then. So then it's nice to know if anyone who's watching enjoyed the movie and enjoyed that book to know, oh, he has other ones that have like similar. They may not be the Appalachian Trail, but they have similar tones and are more memoirs of him traveling.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us. If you have any questions about the books that we talked about, or you want recommendations for other books that you can find on Hoopla, or just book recommendations in general, we would be happy to help you with that. You can direct your comments and your questions toward the comments on this video, and we'd be happy to help you. Until next time.
Yes, thank you for coming and watching.
Thank you. See